Good afternoon. Welcome to Bossed Up Academy, where you can get your stimulus updates as well as your real estate and business updates. Tonight, we have Mr. Lance with us. Lance, if you will, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate being here. But for those who don't know, I'm Lance Devereux. I'm the owner and lead designer of Designs by Devereux Weddings and Events based in Charlotte, North Carolina. But we travel all over the nation creating beautiful weddings, celebrations, corporate events. It's truly our passion and specialty. I'm also the founder and curator of the Devereux Experience, which is a 3-day experience where I teach aspiring, new, up and coming, even seasoned event professionals how to fine tune their craft, how to elevate their business, and how to become more profitable in their event planning businesses. So, as well, I'm also co-star of VH1's My Celebrity Dream Wedding, which season 1 aired early last year, and more seasons to hopefully come soon. So, stay tuned for that.
Awesome. We're going to take a little break while Facebook builds our audience, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Well, good evening. Thank you again, Lance, for coming on. And, tell us all about your experience. How did you get to the point where you wanted to be a reality TV celebrity?
Well, I'll tell you, the whole reality TV thing is something that it really found me. I can't say it's anything that I ever actually personally sought out. I actually had a casting producer who reached out, and they were looking for a very particular subset of individuals. 3 well-known planners who had worked with high-profile people, who had fun personalities, who they thought would be a good match to come together and put this show together, where basically what we have the opportunity to do is give everyday couples with average budgets just a taste of the celebrity experience. So we actually have to compete for the opportunity to do this. So all 3 of us have to give our visions. We have to kind of say what we can do for the budget the client has to offer. And it's entertaining, it's fun, it's challenging, but it's real. I mean, these are real people's weddings, and it's just amazing. So if you haven't seen the show already, My Celebrity Wedding on VH1, you can find the episodes on YouTube. And like I said, we have season 1 has already been put out. Season 2 is already filmed, but has not yet been put out. So hopefully you all will get to see that very soon. Yes.
All right. So, a part of building your brand and who you are actually opened an opportunity for you, and you did not have to go searching for that opportunity.
Most definitely. One of the things about me, and one of the things that I tell people, when I'm training them through my experience and future mentorship opportunities that I have available, is the authenticity of selling you and making you a part of your brand. One thing about the wedding and events industry is, like many industries, it's some may say it's oversaturated, but I don't necessarily believe in that. There's so many people doing the same thing but there's only one of you, right? And so what I really try to do was to find a way to connect me personally to my brand, because there's somebody else out there who does flowers and designs just as well as I do, but they don't all have the personality that I do. They don't all have the story that I do. And that's the means that I use to connect with my target audience to build my client base. And as you said, that same, personalization that I put into my brand led to me actually having the opportunity to be on TV. So, yes.
So we're gonna back up a little bit further.
Okay.
How did you get your first celebrity wedding?
The first celebrity client that I got actually was a referral through another planner. And so that's another thing that's important. Relationship building is so important in many industries. Starting out, I didn't have the big connections to connect in a lot of the big circles that you could funnel down those big events. But what I did was I genuinely connected with people who did have those opportunities and who did have that experience and who did have that knowledge. So a time came when there was someone who they were just unavailable to do a certain gig. And, we had been keeping in touch. I had been consistent with the communication. I had been authentic with the communication. It wasn't just like, hey, I need something type of thing. Like, I tried to build a genuine rapport with this person in a real relationship. So the trust was there. They knew my passion. And so when that opportunity came, they gave me a call. And at the time I didn't even know if I was ready for it, but I knew I had to get ready for it. And I knew I had to, sometimes they say like fake it till you make it. In that particular instance, I wasn't going to let that opportunity pass me by. And I figured out how to get through the fine details. And it was a successful event, and it led to other high profile opportunities. So it just all started with that relationship and that referral.
And so, and I want to point this out because we talk about this a lot. Making your competitors your clients.
Yes.
Making your competitors your fan base.
Yes.
Making your competitors know who you are and be omnipresent in your space, because they will bring you business. Just
Most
like
definitely.
there's 50 different types of loaves bread on the shelf. All of them going to sell, but they're going to sell at different price points.
Yeah, when you truly learn how to leverage relationships within your community, your business community, your sector of whatever it is that you do, you can really leverage the benefits of community over competition. You really can. And not to say that there's got to be some level of competition in what we all do, because, for me, competition is how I personally challenge myself to be better. But it's not like I can't use my, local circle of relationships within the same industry to sometimes funnel business off of and to funnel relationships off of. So yeah, I try to stay as well connected as possible.
Okay, so let's back up even further.
Okay.
How did you know you wanted to do this? What made you get into this business?
Once again, I'm telling you, for me, it's more like destiny than anything else. I'm going to take it way back since we're going back. I'm going to take it back to the beginning. So growing up, my parents, I was born and raised in Burlington, North Carolina, much slower pace than like the Charlottes and Atlantas and the Houstons and these other places I've had an opportunity to work and grow over the years. But they would do actually small events in our church growing up at home. And, I saw my mom coordinating weddings growing up, and I saw, my dad assist her in that effort. And they became known locally as like the hometown event gurus. Nothing that they ever took super serious. Most of their clients were family, friends, church members. And it was just something they did more as a passion project. Never imagined it's something I would ever have any part of. Saw them do it, didn't realize that seed was being planted then and there, and I didn't even realize it. I went to college, UNC Charlotte. I graduated from UNC Charlotte. I have an education in public relations. So my plan was I was going to graduate. I was either going to get a job in PR and eventually work towards owning my own PR firm. But while I was working in college, I would take on interior decor jobs because I loved interior decorating. And so I helped family, friends decorate their spaces. That led to referrals to actual clients asking me to decorate their homes. And then I had a client one day, sometimes when people think you have that creative niche, they don't care what it is. If they think you're creative, they think you can help with anything. So I had a client who asked me to actually help with her wedding. I had never done a wedding before in my life, and I had really at the time, no interest. But that client had been loyal to me, so I considered it more as a favor to help her out because she had been loyal. So I was going to do everything I could to try to help her get through her wedding. And through that process, the wedding, for it to be my first wedding, it turned out beautiful, and that started to lead to more and more referrals, more and more bookings, and it got to a point where I was getting way more wedding and event-based referrals than I was interior design referrals. And I said, I'm missing something here. I've got to really pay attention to how I can truly monetize off of this and turn this into something real. And I started to take other classes, started to educate myself. I started to mentor under other professionals to really learn the ropes. If I was going to do this, I wanted to know what I was doing. I wanted to understand the pricing structures. I wanted to understand how to be great if I was going to put myself out there to do this thing. So I took a few years to do that. And just, to kind of, to jumpstart the whole story, years later, I was able to quit my job in corporate America. I was a life insurance underwriter for years, and it got to a certain point where I couldn't be successful in both areas. My planning and design business really started to take over, and I had to really focus my energy on that to make that a success. And here we are today.
If you could go back to your first year in business self,
yes,
what advice would you give to lessen somebody's learning curve?
The advice that I would give to lessen someone else's learning curve, especially in the age of social media that we're in my particular industry, is to be comfortable with the journey and don't feel like with everything that you see out there on social media, the way that it looks like that it should be, there were steps that it took to get there. And sometimes I think that we miss the mindset of understanding that we've got to go through a process before we get to that great reward at the end. So I would tell myself, my old self, to just calm down, continue to trust the process, and one day you're going to get there. Just trust the process. If you're doing the work, if you're truly educating yourself, I promise you, taking the time to get the knowledge to be successful is going to be so much more rewarding in the end than trying to just jumpstart to copy everything else you see everybody doing it on social media without having the true knowledge of how to sustain that over time.
So, with that being said, is this a family business or is it just you?
It's not a family business in the sense of like my immediate family. I'm starting out. My family did help me. Starting out when I was really starting to get out there, things started to grow. I had families who helped me, friends who helped me, and I'm thankful for those people who just seeded into my journey to help me to get things off the ground. For years, my husband helps me. He was like a silent partner in the business, so to speak. But currently, no, it's currently not a family business. It's an independent operation. I have an independent body of staff and team members, and yeah, Team Devereux is in full force.
All right. So, how does your parent, because a lot of times people don't realize how influential their parents,
right,
your values, you
yeah.
think about your morals coming and your work ethic, and that you are watching your parents, but also to walk in their footsteps, but to take it to another level. How does that make your parents feel?
They are so proud. They're so proud. And listen, my parents, they love to brag on me. So they'll, like I said, when it was happening, I didn't realize that, that seed was being planted for something that may happen in my future. And they'll tell you, we planted that seed. We used to do this back in the day. He took it to another level, but this is where he got it from. So I always try to give that acknowledgement when I have the opportunity to kind of just pay homage to what they did and what they exposed me to growing up and how it, truly fostered success in my business today.
Yes, and I think that sometimes parents don't realize that you are molding, and that's why I wanted to point that out, because I feel like without my parents, I wouldn't be in some of the directions that I am. And even though sometimes parents don't feel like their children are doing what they want them to do, but at the same time, we're still listening, we're still watching, and a lot of that builds into who we are.
Most definitely. I think the environment is everything. Is anything that that's growing or being nurtured in environment, its environment is, depends on its survival. Anything that's growing or living. So definitely, even like I said, sometimes you growing up you don't want to listen, and sometimes you think you don't you know what you don't know, but as you get older, those nuggets will start to kind of like ring in your head, like, oh, I get it now, or oh, now that makes sense. So I agree with that 100%, most definitely.
Well, your favorite slogan that I love, the price is the price.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
And what did you say about those? If you got those custom coins.
That's right. Many people call and ask you for custom things, and custom things cost. So I tell people, if you want those custom colors, you got to have the custom coins.
Yes. So that brings me into my next question. A lot of people, they don't understand knowing your worth versus being overpriced versus being underpriced.
Right.
What insight or what suggestion could you give to people to let them know, to kind of be in that middle of the road, not overpriced, not underpriced, knowing your worth and driving the car forward, but not being scared to ask for the money?
most for me, over time, what I've learned to do is to educate my clients, because a lot of times when people come to you, they don't know what they don't know. They're relying on you as the professional to provide that level of solid education so they know what things cost. And if you present things to people in a way that you are truly the professional and you're confident in what you're saying, and you have the portfolio to back up the cost, they're going to pay the price if they want to work with you. They're going to pay the price if they want to work with you. And also, I think another thing is that's so important is to understand your market. Every market is different. So you should be doing market research to understand what the going rate for certain services are in your particular market. You can't charge the same thing for a wedding in Charlotte, North Carolina, or as you would in New York, or vice versa. I could go to LA and do the same product and probably charge 2 times for it than I do in Charlotte versus. So it's also understanding various markets and how to, adjust your prices accordingly to fit what's going on in that market. So that goes back to being well educated about what's, you don't want to just jump into this stuff blind. You got to really know what you're talking about. And when you are the professional, when you know how to walk the walk, when you know how to talk the talk, when you can speak your client's language, that higher clientele client, when you can speak their language, they're going to trust you and they'll be more inclined to write the check. That's another one of my stuff. Write the check, okay?
Write the check. We need that check, baby. So, because I think that a lot of people get into, I see either lowballing themselves, but at the same time, I see people being overpriced, but they have not put in to what they need in the craft. So when you said that you were mentoring, being mentored, what kind of things were you doing exactly to be mentored, to get that extra training, to get to the level where you are now?
Well, my first thought was, if I want to be the best, I want to learn from the best. I don't want to learn how to be the best from somebody who I don't see operating at their fullest potential, in my opinion. So I sought out assistance from those people who are the best. There's a world-renowned designer, people in the design community. If you're in the design community, you don't know this name, you got to start doing your research. Preston Bailey. Preston Bailey is a world-renowned floor and event designer. He's designed for the Royals. When Joan Rivers was, alive, he was one of his first huge celebrity clients, and that's how he really broke into the true big Hollywood market. And when I followed him very closely. And when I saw that he was offering the opportunity for people to come and train and learn from him, I took that opportunity to invest in myself. And at the time, with where I was in life and in business, it was hard. I had to make a sacrifice to do that, but that sacrifice paid off in the long run. So that's another thing you have to understand, is that if you're truly passionate about something and you're really trying to stick with it for the long haul, sometimes you have to make that investment up front to get that reward later. Those few $1,000s I spent on that class back then, I mean, I've made that time, that's multiplied 100 times over at this point with what I've been able to learn. So yeah, and once again, it also went back to building those genuine relationships. There were times when I wanted to learn from people, and I would offer my hands for free just to be in the room. I would say, hey, you're operating at this level. I want to learn how to operate at this level. Can I shadow you? Can I come be a hand to you? I don't want to just take from you. I want you to see the value in what it in me being there, you know. So they didn't mind me just sitting back and taking what I took from it because they were getting, you know, some free labor along the way. So you got to humble yourself to do what you need to do to get the knowledge in order to truly be successful in the long run in this industry.
Right. So, with that being said, and event planning, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, there's different sectors of the business, but yeah, event planning, event design, different sectors, yes.
Okay. I mean, trends and creativity, all of that is like I think faster than sometimes technology is going.
Most
So
definitely.
how do you keep up with what's in, what's gone away, what's coming?
I think that's one of the most challenging. When people ask me what are challenging parts of this business, that's definitely one of the most challenging parts of this business. Staying ahead of the curve, staying ahead of the trend. So the way that I combat that, of course, I want to know what's going on. So I stay tuned to what's going on out there, what the market is putting out. But I don't try to mimic the trend or to follow a trend. The way that I stay above the game of this business is to get ahead of the trend and to be the trend setter. You know, so that's the way that I approach it. I'm not out here just looking to see what everybody else is doing and what's hot right now. I make a certain look hot so that other people are wanting to recreate that. And I'm the original of that. So at least in my mind, you know, I try to be inspired by other things other than what I'm just seeing. I don't get my inspiration for how I produce my events just on what I'm seeing other people do. I'm thinking about architecture. I'm thinking about things that I see when I'm traveling. I'm thinking about things that I see. Like I said, I love interior design. So I still try to be up to date on what's going on in the world of interior design because I'm able to take those concepts and relate it back to my events, the way that they're using patterns, colors, textures, and how can I use those things to be fresh and to be ahead of the curve. So
Because I see a lot of people, they get into one part or one thing, and then when that they just stick with it. And as long as people are buying it, they're not coming with any more extravagant or better ideas. They kind of just
right,
and some event planners or event designers, you can tell their work. Every event's the same, just a
right,
different color or
right,
a different change of the centerpiece, and now it's the same effect.
right. And it's okay to have a niche. Like it's okay to have like a niche style, but you can't just produce the same thing over and over because you know we talked about the price, right? You're not going to be able to keep increasing those prices if you're not increasing the quality of service. So if you're continuing to push out that same thing over and over with no creativity behind it, no thought behind, no customization behind it, you're not going to go but so far financially with what you're going to be able, what you're going to be able to convince your client to invest in the events. I'm open with showing my evolution of kind of where I started and where I've come with my clients. I'm not afraid of where I started because I want them to see that I've grown, I've taken the journey, and that lets them know that from where I am now, I'm only going to continue to elevate as we go forward. And they want to be a part of that elevation, and they want to be a part of that journey, and they want to be able to say, "I worked with him, when he made it this far." So, looking back, it's like now he's here. I was a part of that. So all of that is also a part of your branding and your marketing and how you are authentic with your story and what you put out there.
And how do you leverage social media to put your story out there?
Social media has been huge for me. It has been huge for me. There are actually other marketing outlets that I use starting out that I no longer use because I've been able to replace that business with social media. Social media has been a means for me to put out what it is that I want to get in. So if there's a certain client that you're trying to attract, certain social media is a great place to do it. You know, focus on. I tell people all the time. One of the things I teach in my classes is even if you get a client who doesn't necessarily have the budget to do everything that you want to do to get that look that you feel like you want to portray, you find a way to get that one moment, that one element that you can then take from that event and market to get the next client. It may just be a cake table. It may just be one focal point table in the room. It may just be, just the entry. You got to figure out ways to use your events as marketing for you, so that you don't, that your own events can be your marketing budget if you know how to use it. So that's something that I always tell people as well. So I'll go deeper into that in my class, the Devereux experience. So come learn more. If you really want to go deep into it and how I make it happen, come see me in Atlanta, April 24th to the 26th at the Devereux experience. It's going to be amazing.
And I am sure it is, because you're amazing. Bye, goat.
Thank you. Yes.
So when you were saying that when you create your experiences, and some people feel obligated, and I've seen some designers do this, where they feel obligated to take pictures of the entire space, right? But then you were just talking about, hey, if you had something that had that wow factor, then you can just hone on in those pieces rather than getting the entire space that may not exemplify or magnify your true creativity or your work.
Most definitely. You've got to be strategic about what you're putting out. What you put out is more than likely what you're going to get back in. If you continue to put out mediocre work, if you continue to put out, minimalistic work, that's who's going to be attracted to you. Why would somebody who has $100,000 plus to spend on the event come to you and spend that investment with you if you've only produced something that looks like $3,000, right? And so you may not have the opportunity yet to work with those clients who have six figures to put into an event, but you can focus on a single element that they can identify with to prove to them, hey, I can produce at this level. And you can use this as a basis to trust where I'm going in my process. So you just got to be strategic about what you're putting out. And then, like I tell people as well, if you're not in a position to, put out these grand events that you're trying to, that you aspire to be able to do, you need to be putting out things that relate to the language that people who have that, extra income to put into these types of things that they like to talk. If they like to talk, travel, people who have money like to travel. You should be trying to find a way to incorporate conversations about traveling, what you're doing. High-end brands, people a lot of times, well, some people, that's not everybody, but some people who have money like luxury experiences. You should be trying to ways to infuse those conversations into that, that client base. If you're looking, if you're trying to do kids parties, if mothers, you should be trying to incorporate conversations that entice mothers to want to engage with your content. So you just got to be strategic about what you're doing to get you're going to get back in what you put out. So
Dan, I back you up. You said people that have money to spend $100,000 on an event.
Yeah, most definitely. Events.
Is that, that could be your new normal, right?
It could. And people spend big money on life celebrations. They really do.
And the reason that I wanted to highlight that is because I see so many people saying people with money don't spend their money on this. They don't spend their money on that. They don't spend their money on designer. There are people with money that are spending $100,000+ on life events, right?
Most definitely. Some people may not be as open to sharing. Not everybody is a social media person that just puts everything that they do out on social media. But there are many people, I know everybody's different. You can't put everybody, in a box. So you maybe do have wealthy people who decide that's not what's for them. But there are many affluent people who spend a lot of money on life celebrations, weddings, retirements. Also, brand activations. Business owners who have big brands that they're launching, they spend lots of money on those. And guess what? For them, those are tax deductible events in many cases. So, it's not all about personal events. It's also about business events as well, and entertaining business partners and forging business relationships through grand events. So there's a lot of money being spent in the event community.
Right. And because I think that a lot of people are so programmed to think such on a smaller level,
Mm-hmm.
and I see a lot of event people that it's like I've seen with pricing that says you can't perform that for that amount of money if you're gonna, make it nice.
Right.
Do you have to tap into other backgrounds?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your challenges that you face that you've had to overcome to break certain barriers?
I think a lot of that comes with time. If I'm understanding your question correctly, I think a lot of it comes with time and experience to break those barriers into different ranges of the market. It doesn't come overnight, and so it is challenging to kind of break that barrier from maybe your average clientele to higher end clientele. And even once you start to attract higher end clientele, you have to decide what type of business model that you want to run. We have high end clientele, but we also service average clients as well. We're very keen on providing the appropriate education to let people know, we try to at least what to expect or the level of design to expect. Depending on their level of investment. So, if you don't do that, then people are automatically going to assume somebody who has a $10,000 budget is going to assume they're still getting the same outcome of what you're putting out with 30, 40, 50, $60,000 plus events if you're not providing your clients with the education, understanding what it is they're really getting for their investment. And that's another thing. I let my clients know events are investments. Excuse me. Events are investments. So this is, it's not money that we're throwing down the drain. I respect your investment. I respect the outcome that you want to get for your investment. And I want them to know I value what they're putting into this experience as well as them trusting me to produce it. So
Now, what are some things that you see fellow event designers that you just say, man, somebody needs to tell them that they absolutely should not, must not do?
one of the biggest things is scale. Understanding scale and proportion is huge in this industry. And also understanding just uh, how to appropriately lay out a room. I'm going to tell you, learning how to create a unique floor plan can totally transform your event. Can totally transform your event. And some people don't understand that craft. Another thing is that some people don't understand when you have a table or area or a structure that's of a certain size or a certain mass, you have to learn how to produce things that equal out to that mass. So, for example, if I have a table that's a 6 foot wide table, I'm not going to put a centerpiece in the middle of that table that's only meant for a 3 to 4 foot table because it's going to look like something's missing. There's a loss there. That's not to say that everything has to be grand and over the top, but it's to say that you really have to understand those things in order to get a well-rounded event, to get an event that looks complete. I think a lot of times people put out products that look incomplete. You look at it and you say, something's missing. And it's not because they haven't covered all the bases. It's because they don't understand scale and proportion and they haven't put the right things in the right places to get that complete look when it comes to an event. So that's one of the big ones. And also understanding color theory. Some people do not understand color theory. And I tell everybody who's involved in the world of event design, you need to take a course of intro to interior design. Learn about color theory, learn about how different textures and patterns play together. And it's okay to not be that person who only knows how to decorate around a color scheme. So, for example, if your color scheme is blue and white, the only way you know how to design an event is to make everything in that space blue and white. This napkin's going to be blue. This table's going to be white. This flower's going to be blue. This draper's going to be white. That's not creative. You have to learn how to introduce different textures and layers to your design to make it interesting, and don't always rely on the color story to create something unique with your design. So once again, I can't give y'all everything. If y'all want to really know the true tea about how we make this happen, excuse me, I have um, a whole recipe is what I call it to creating successful events. And I'm going to be going over that whole recipe. I tell my students there's a science to this. So come and learn the science behind creating effective. And I don't just call it, designs, or I don't call myself a decorator. We focus on spatial transformations.
All
And
right.
there's a difference. So come learn the difference.
But I wanted to, my question, and I mean, that was a well-rounded answer as far as, design goes. But I'm talking about as far as business etiquette that you have found that people just do not have in this industry.
Customer service is one of the biggest ones. Customer service is a huge piece of any business, any service-based business. You want to try to have good customer service, great communication. I think that's some things that some people lack. As well as understanding how to staff appropriately for your business in this event world. You have to understand staffing, and you have to understand what it takes to get to the from point A to point B within a given allotted amount of time. So that all takes time to kind of figure out what your staffing structure should look like. Otherwise, you'll be put in a position to where you're not appropriately staffed, and you try to execute. You finally get that client that gives you a little money, and you try to execute, and it's an hour or 2 hours until their event time was supposed to start, and you're still trying to make it happen. So that's another big piece, just understanding that piece of the business.
Right. And then will you always talk about that in the class of how to plan out your timelines to give yourself enough time so that you're not under the gun or running behind for somebody's event?
Yep, most definitely. We'll talk about all that. Another big thing that we talk about is, I'm very also connected to my venues. So I like to try to understand what is allowed at the venues, what isn't allowed at the venues. And some productions you can't produce in one day. Some things realistically just can't happen in a day. So you have to understand that for certain things, you've got to be able to work with that venue to gain access earlier if possible. And if not, you've got to be able to explain to the client that they need to make the investment to rent the facility for more than one day so that you can achieve what needs to be achieved. So once again, those are all just things that have to be learned. You don't know if you don't know. So what you would hate to do, I know, there's that whole joke about faking it until you making it, but you want to have enough knowledge so when you do get that opportunity that you don't fake it to the point where you get put out of that opportunity in the future. So
I do want to ask you, do you do joint ventures with people? Say I'm a new event person. I mean, a new event design, and I forgot that spatial.
Yeah, spatial transformations,
transformations person that you were just talking about. But what if I'm not quite there yet, but I know I don't want to fake it till I make it? I do have this client, and do you come in and assist, or of course for a fee, or do you say, okay, I'm gonna take over this event and you come in and you can make some, but kind of ride my coattail? Do you do like a joint venture, I guess would say?
I'll be honest with you, that really comes with relationship building. If somebody out of the blue called me and offered the opportunity to answer, would it be absolutely no? And the reason being is because there's only so much that even that I'm able to control. There are other factors outside of me. If that person, is handling the communication with the client, and they're doing the educating of the client, there's still things that could go wrong. And so unless there's a genuine relationship there, I probably wouldn't, just because I'm that protective of my name. Even if if people see you in the room, even if you're not of the forefront of the event, people are going to assume that you had something to do with it. So I'm very protective of my name. But there is a thing in the industry called white labeling. So basically, there are back end contracts and back end agreements where certain companies will come in and produce for other companies But that's a whole process. There's usually big money involved. If if you're going to pay me to do something, but then you also want me to pay for my silence to say that I didn't do it if you take credit for it, that comes with a cost. So everything's possible, but it does come with a cost.
Yeah, and I mean that that really could break you into the next level. I
Yeah,
mean, it's up to you to once you put them up there for them to stay.
no, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm the type of person, I believe in investing. If I'm connected to you, I want to see you win. I don't believe in being surrounded about, and for lack of better terms, I don't mean to offend anybody, but losers. Um, that not the I'm just keeping it 100. I want people who are connected to me to be people who are striving for success. Otherwise, it's a waste of energy to maintain a business relationship with people who aren't striving for better. So I said it to say, if you're somebody who's coming under me and we've built that connection, that rapport, I'm going to genuinely do everything that I can to assist you and to help you. And so that's another part of, like, being a part of my class. What's bigger than what's even bigger than what you learn in experiences like what I'm doing, the Devereux experiences, outside of the things that you learn, is the people that you connect with. That's huge in those types of settings, because once you're in my circle, you're in it for life, and we're going to grow together. So, and as well as the other students that you learn, you guys can grow together. So what may happen is you may get that call and you don't have the home support to make it happen, but you now have 20 plus other students who you met at a class. You can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I need freelancers for this event that I got, and I need you guys to come in and help support me and making this happen. And you pay them a freelance rate for that hourly help, but you have other people who you've met at this experience who also were trained in the experience, so they know how to do it, to come and help you achieve. That's how you support each other in business. That's how you grow together. That's how you help each other make it to the next level in this industry.
So now your event is how many days in Atlanta that's coming up again?
It's a 3-day event. It's the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. 3 days.
And I saw where you have financing options. Are we too close to the deadline for the financing?
We still have financing options. So the option that is available, you can pay $500 to reserve your seat. And then the remaining deposit is due 2 weeks prior to the event. So $500 to hold the seat. The remaining monies are due 2 weeks prior to the event.
Okay. Now, I mean, you said this training is going to cover a lot of stuff. So is this like an all-day training?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. It's all day. It's like, it's like a full-time job on all 3 of those days, 8 to 5 at least. Sometimes it might be a little longer. Depends on how in-depth you want to get. And I believe in hands-on experiences. So this is not just me sitting up and talking to you and motivating you and making you feel all warm and fuzzy. And then when you get home, you don't know what to do. You're going to work with me as well as other trained professionals that I'm bringing in from the U.S., some of my most trusted partners in this business, in this industry. And you're going to work with us, to actually transform a space. We're going to do it together. And so I'm not going to just tell you about it. I'm going to give you opportunity to do it. And I'm going to actually give you the guidance and the critique right then and there to be better. And then it's going to end with a fabulous closing celebration. So we're going to all celebrate our achievements of what we've learned over the 3 days. I'm going to be inviting other influencers and other, people in the event community to come be a part of this celebration. So it's a big cocktail party event that closes out the whole experience on the 3rd day. So you have an additional opportunity to network. And then as well, when I talked about being able to put out what you want to get back in and show people that you can make it happen, all images that are captured, there'll be for professional photographers, professional videographers. Once you buy the class, you have rights to those photos to actually use for your own personal marketing. So you can use those photos to put on your own website, your own social media, to say, I created this because you really did help to create it. So that in and of itself is worth the investment. So,
oh wow, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you haven't done anything and then now you've got content that you can actually say that you were a part of.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Now, what kind of follow-up can you do? Once you attended the class, what is what's next after that?
Yeah, so we're going to be launching our one-on-one mentorship program post this next class. Y'all are getting the inside scoop because we haven't released this yet. So y'all are getting the inside here at Boss Up Academy. So post the class, our students who attended the class, we've done a few of these experiences. So current the Devereux experience alumni, and then the alumni from this next class will be the first to have the opportunity to our one-on-one coaching experience. That'll launch. It'll launch sometime late summer of this year.
Okay. And now, how often do you have these classes, just in case they don't have the custom coins right now? Yeah. And this might be too short of a window.
Right. We try to do it at least once a year. But we try to push twice a year if we can. It just all depends on our schedule and what, our clients and what we really have time to do. I'm the type of person, if we can't do it right, we're not going to do it. So once a year for sure. We strive to try to get 2 a year in. And so we've already started to have talks about potentially our next class, potentially. I don't want to drop that location yet. But if you want to be the first to know about that, visit the DevereuxExperience.com. You'll be prompted to join our mailing list, which is our VIP list, and you will be the first to know about upcoming experiences. And we decide to do another one this year. But if not, go ahead and get into that one this year. Look,
I was going to say, it sounds like you better get into that one because they might be too busy.
That's right. Yeah, I don't want to overpromise on that. This is the time. The time is now. Like I said, I know it's an investment. I know that some people don't just have $2,000-$3,000 laying around to just throw at something like this. But when I did my first experience with Preston Bailey years ago, it was about $2,500, and I was at a point. This was about 10 years ago. And at that point in time, I mean, the $2,500 is dishing that out at that time. It was, I had to make a sacrifice to do that. But like I said, that sacrifice has since paid off for me, time and time again. So, I won't say stress, but, a little difficulty on the front end to have a reward on the back end. It's all about investing in yourself. So,
I mean, put it on a credit card and just pay on it, because, I mean, people pay more to go to college for a semester, right?
Sure, hands down.
Exactly. And there's no guarantee that you don't even have the potential to make what you could make if you learn this. I mean, this is easily a 6-figure career, yearly career.
Definitely, hands down. I mean, if you do what you're supposed to do, you should well exceed this. You can definitely get into the higher 6 figures. Depending on how big you wanted to grow your business and how many events you want to do a year. So we'll talk about that too. Really kind of estimating how much you should be charging for events based on what your goals are for the year. My goals for the year, based on what I want to do, may be different than your goals. If I want to take on less events, because I'm at a point in life where I'm really focusing on business, but also balance personally, I'm going to need to focus on taking on a fewer higher end clients to get to that mark versus, we talk about all of that and go through kind of how you should be thinking about it and how to kind of, pace yourself for success. So,
and if you think about it, it's like $1,000 a day,
Exactly. Yep. And it also includes your breakfast and lunch each day. So you get that. You'll get a t-shirt. Of course, like I said, you'll get the 3 days. All your supplies will be covered, everything that you need to help make it happen. And I mean, there'll be thousands and thousands of dollars worth of flowers you'll have the opportunity to touch. You'll get a personal branding photo shoot session as a part of the experience. So each student will have their own individual opportunity to take photos with them in it, in front of the decor, to also use as marketing. So you really do get a lot for the money.
So you're getting education, content.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yep. Relationship building. Yep. Network.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about the relationship building with your classmates as well as with you and the industry people that you're bringing in.
Most definitely. Yeah.
So I think it's a very small sacrifice. And I mean, one event, I mean, nowadays, even I would think a kid's party at least costs you $3,000,
most of them with what people are wanting these days.
Yeah. Right. So to take what you probably yeah, I mean, it depends on where you are level wise, but one event and fund your education, your branding shoot,
Right.
all of that's already put together. I mean, you don't have to rent the venue, you don't have to get the props. All of that is being provided, and I think that by itself is worth at least $500 to $1,000.
Well, most definitely. And if you take away what you're going to learn from this experience, I told my students from my past experience, if you take what you've learned and you do what you're supposed to do with what you've learned, you should easily, at minimum, be able to return your investment 5 times. At minimum, that's minimum, by the end of the year. So easily you should just start, and that's just starting out. I'm very, kind of modest with that, because that's you just really starting to really get out there, put yourself out there at another level. So
Yes, I mean, that's a lot.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
most maybe want to do it, but I don't. I'll leave that up to Lance.
You gotta have it is one of those things you do have to have the passion for. It's not for the faint of heart. There's a lot that goes into it, and then there's a lot of work that goes into it. So this isn't one of those industries where you just like, oh, I want to do this today. And no, you really have got to be passionate about it.
So, do you think that you've transitioned more into the event space than the core, like the being a personal designer?
Yeah, you mean like interior design versus
Interior. I don't know why I couldn't
no,
think of that.
no, I got you. No, currently I don't even market interior design services at this point, because it's I'm the type of person who believes, at least in this business, that it's okay to be well versed in multiple things. But sometimes when people come in trying to do, you have those people who try to be good at everything and end up being good at nothing. I try to really focus my niche, and but so if an opportunity came along that was made sense, lucrative opportunity to Beyonce and Jay-Z call me tomorrow. They want me to design their house. I'm going to design that house.
Okay.
But we're not actively soliciting interior design clients.
Now, do you favor one event over a different event?
I'm going to tell you, weddings used to be my favorite event, because it was just, I'm an emotional Scorpio. It was the love in the room, and you got to see the couple's reaction to the final outcome, and so those used to be my favorite. But I'm gonna tell you, in post-COVID, I've really grown a love for social events, like non-wedding related celebrations. I think they give you an opportunity sometimes to be just a little bit more creative. A lot of times with weddings, people have a certain expectation of what a wedding should be, as far as things that should be included in the wedding versus things that shouldn't be a part of a wedding, if you have clients who are more on the traditional side of things. But with social events, you can really do, there are no limits to kind of what you can present. Your creativity can just kind of be out there, and I've really appreciated that opportunity to just kind of create things that are kind of outside of the box of what I normally would. So they have become my current love. So we'll see how that changes over time.
Okay, so birthday parties, gender reveals, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, non-wedding related. And in corporate, we do love corporate as well. We're another focus for our business over the next year is to really try to push our corporate sector, and to really start making those connections in the corporate sector to start doing many more corporate events as well. So yeah, we're excited for all of that.
All right. Well, this was awesome. Thank you. I can't believe we already been on here for
I know. Yeah,
right at an hour.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for trusting me for some of your own event. So thank you for just having me in the space, and I look forward to hopefully talking with you all again soon.
Yeah, and so I just want to close. I mean, you did an awesome. I can't. And I told you, I said, I'm not a wild person. And when you said, I said, no, if it's nice, it's nice. But I mean, you really have to give somebody credit where credit is due. The price is the price, but it's worth the price.
Right.
The convenience of it, and not having to do anything or worry about if it's going to get done, and if it's going to be done with class, with taste, with I mean, just being done correctly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you wow the guests
Thank you.
more than anything,
Thank you.
and people are still talking about it.
Well, good.
And
Good.
so you want events where people are, man, where is that guy at? Where is he? Where did I see
Yeah.
him at? And that, that you really transform spaces.
Mhm.
And I mean, you are the GOAT. I
Thank
mean,
you.
hands down.
Thank you. Thank you so
But
much.
I do want to end with a piece of advice, a piece of
Mhm.
encouragement to someone that has been both in this space for a period of time and people that are interested in coming into this space. What advice would you give them?
For up and comers who want to get into the space and you've had that yearning to kind of step out and to learn more, don't wait. Do it now. If I could, another thing that I would tell my younger self is that I would have started even sooner if I knew then what I knew now, and at least I would have had a head start on the education and kind of getting my feet wet. So don't be afraid to just start. Also, don't be afraid to reach out and to ask questions. And the people who you want answers from may not be able to just provide them straight off. Understand that it's not personal if the people that you reach out to don't get back to you in the time frame or the way that you wish. But know that if you're consistent and if you are genuine and trying to make those connections will come, and those will be stepping stones to your growth in the future. And if you've been in the game for a while now and you feel like you still just haven't been able to get to where you want to get to, it's never too late to reinvent yourself. This industry or any other industry, if you put in the work, there's still time to reinvent yourself, and there is still time to do something different. It's okay to take a look back at what you've done for so many years and come to that personal understanding of whatever I've done in the past is fine. I'm thankful for those opportunities and for that journey, but now it's maybe time to elevate, and it's time to learn how to do something different. And as long as you've got breath in your body and will to continue, there's opportunity to succeed. So
All right. Well, thank you so much.
you're
Thank you
welcome.
again.
You're so welcome. Have a great one.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.